Many people regard you as a personification of Ubuntu. What do you understand Ubuntu to be?
In the old days when we were young, a traveler through a country would stop at a village and he didn't have to ask for food or for water. Once he stops, the people give him food, entertain him. That is one aspect of Ubuntu, but it will have various aspects. Ubuntu does not mean that people should not enrich themselves. The question, therefore, is, are you going to do so in order to enable the community around you to be able to improve? These are the important things in life. And if one can do that, you have done something very important which will be appreciated.
The open source report on the 31st of December 2017. The last show of this year. This is officially New Year's Eve here from WBRN Radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network. A happy New Year 2018 to all out there. And this is also Kwanzaa. As usual, this is brought to you by Cranston Software and Cranston Analytics. It can be found on the web at Cranston Software on Twitter and Cranston Software on Facebook, and also Cranston Analytics on Facebook. You can visit those. We update in a timely manner on all of those feeds. You can find us on various outlets, including iHeartRadio. We are here, and WBRN and the Boston Red Network through bostonred.org, which we are continuously updating. The open source report, we've been doing it for a few years now, and I believe one year we only did one report, but this year, 2017, we've been much more timely. And in 2018, we basically want to do this bi-weekly. Perhaps it would be better if we were able to do it weekly, but we'll try. Because at WBRN we have other reports. The political report, Boston Red, is on here about 5 times a week, and we have our macroeconomics report from Cranston Analytics weekly called This Week in Economics. It is out there. You can find it on many of the same channels, on iHeart, on Spreaker, etc., on Stitcher. I'm sorry, not Sneaker. Stitcher, we are there. We're on YouTube also. And we'll start delineating these channels a little bit better, where you can find them. At least you can go to Stitcher. And for mobile devices, we just looked at many of our programs, at least 60% or more on mobile devices. And we will get this on Android at the Android store, and some others there that we have not been at, but we do have an RSS feed. You can also move to it for old school. The kernel, as we always do, is 4.14.10. The release kernel is 4.15 release candidate 5 that was released on the 24th of December. So this is what they call the stable kernel. 4.14.10 is out there, and we are moving in that direction. I believe we have a Slackware version. I think we are 4.9.73, somewhere along there is the long-term release from Slackware. We'll be going to linux.com and several other sources, but it doesn't necessarily bleed. It leads here, but swatting attack on a Kansas man. He was killed in Wichita, Kansas. We'll go into that from Krebs on security. We usually go to him every week on security, but this is a very timely story of what's going on. And when we finish here, you'll actually hear the 911 recording from the Wichita PD and the reaction of the mother, being that her son was not a gamer. He was an interesting party in this situation, online game called Call of Duty. We'll attach Mr. Krebs here, and we'll get to that. But firstly, some of the small points here, small points. We'll start out here with threat modeling. This is from a motherboard. Everything in this guide starts with threat modeling, which is a hacker's lingo for assessing how likely you are to get hacked or fall under surveillance. And let me get my right pointer going here. This is from the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Recommends asking yourself 5 questions. What do you want to protect? What do you want to protect it from? How likely is it that you will need to protect it? How bad are the consequences if you fail? How much trouble are you willing to go through in order to prevent those? Is your threat an ex who wants to go through your Facebook account? Then make sure that they don't know the password is a good place to start. Don't share critical passwords with people. That is primarily old school. And try to keep optimistic droners from putting together your information, such as your birthday, which in turn can be used to find other details. Well, keep an eye on what sort of stuff you publish on social media. It would be a good idea, and 2-factor authentication, more of that below, will go a long ways to solve these serious problems. If you're an activist, a journalist, or otherwise have reason to fear government, state, local law enforcement, and want to hack, or the steps you must take to protect yourself are significantly different than you're trying to keep plans for a surprise party secret from your best friend. If you come away with one lesson from this guide, it is update, patch. The Slackware edition does a good job of patching, and we keep things up to date. For those on a Windows system, Windows 10, they send out patches on a regular basis, whether or not you want them, period. On other systems, such as iOS, you have to stay up to date there. Apple is pretty good about that, but there's some flaws. Many common cyber attacks take advantage of flaws in outdated software, such as old web browsers. We use Mozilla here, and we also use DuckDuckDuck. They have PDF readers, spreadsheets, word processor tools. By keeping those up to date, hacking is often a path of least resistance. You go after the easy, soft targets. For example, hackers behind the destructive ransomware outbreak known as WannaCry. We talked about WannaCry. Hit victims who had not applied a security update that had been available for weeks, if not months. That was from Microsoft. We all have too many passwords to remember. This is on passwords, which is why some people just reuse the same ones over and over again. Reusing passwords is bad because, for example, a hacker gets control of your Netflix or spoof your password. You could use it to get into your ride-sharing or bank account and drain your credit card. You're one of these. Our brains aren't actually that bad, even though our brains are not that bad. It actually is bad for remembering your passwords. It's almost impossible to remember dozens of unique, strong passwords. The good news, the solution to these problems is already out there. Password managers, the application is a browser extension that keep track of your password and automatically help you create good passwords. Simply simplifies your online life. If you use the manager, all you have to do is remember one password that unlocks the other passwords, and that can sometimes be a problem also. That one password, is better though. Forget about capital letters, symbols, and numbers. The easiest way to make a secure master password is to make a passphrase, a simple, random, but pronounceable, and thus easy to memorize. Words, for example, flood lips, Sissy Kirk, barrier, amplitude, dice. Don't use that one though. We just burned it. Once you have your unique passwords made, make a lot of characters for everything as long as you create them with a password manager. Never reuse them. The password manager, oops, moving too fast here. The password manager has is better at passphrasing because it's easy to memorize. The other passwords don't need to be memorized because the password manager will remember them. Now, Foxfire does have a password manager out there, and intuitively you think that it's unwise to store your password on your computer or a third-party password manager. What if hackers get in? Well, surely it's better than keeping all in my head. Well, you can always write them down if you don't have physical access to you or wherever. The same password across different sites. That password was stolen in a massive Yahoo hack. No doubt about that. That can easily happen. You might fake it on the risk of a crook reusing a shared password that has been stolen from somewhere else is far greater than sophisticated hackers independently targeting your database of passwords. For example, if you use the same password across the net, this is back there, which was 3 billion people, it could be easily reused in your Gmail, Uber, Facebook, and other sites. Some password managers store your password encrypted in the clouds. So even if the company gets hacked, your password will be safe. For example, the LastPass manager, we will append this, incidentally. LastPass remains a recommended password manager. Let me just lie down here. We're always interested in this. Two-factor authentication. Strong passwords is a great first step, even though they can be stolen. So for your most important accounts, think of your email, Facebook, Twitter. An extra layer of protection known as two-factor, two-step, 2FA authentication. There you can go to twofactororg.org. Enable two factors. You need something more than just your password to log in. Usually it's a numerical code set to your cell phone via a text message. It can be a code created by a specialized application, which is great if your cell phone doesn't have the coverage at the time. Small physical tokens like USB keys called U2F security keys, and various others from brands of commercial keys here. There had been a lot of discussion last year about whether text messaging can be considered a second factor. Some activists here, DeRay and McKeeson's phone number was hacked, meaning the hackers then could, of course, use that. And the National Institute of Standards and Technology is part of the government that writes guidelines and rules on measuring, including security, discourages the use of SSM-based two-factor security. The attack on DeRay was made possible by social engineering. In his case, a customer service rep was tricked by criminals into making him vulnerable. We'll finish this up. We're going to append it. The do's and don'ts: do not use Flash. Flash is historically one of the more insecure pieces of software that's ever been on the computer. Hackers love Flash because it has more holes than a Swiss cheese. Consider plugging in your computer, or at least changing the setting on your browser so that you can click the Flash each time. Let's see. The good news is that a lot of the web has moved away from Flash. Oh, this is Flash, yeah. That is good indeed. There, if you need still to enjoy full-featured, rich browsing, so consider purging from your computer, or at least changing the settings on your browser, so you have to click the Flash each time. Do use antivirus or full security holes if you are not a person who's at risk of getting targeted by state security types. Still, the antivirus software is far from a panacea, and you need more than just to be secured. The reach can be abused. For example, the U.S. government accuses Kapolsky Labs, one of the most well-known antivirus softwares in the world, of having some problems there. That has never been verified, incidentally. Do use some simple security plug-ins. Ad blockers. We use ad blockers around here to protect from malware embedded in advertising. Another plug-in, HTTPS, everywhere, which forces your connection to be encrypted when the site supports it. VPNs. Do disable macros. That's for office users. You have to be very. Do back up your files. Don't overexpose yourself for no reason out there. This is one of those. Spend a little time on it. Don't open attachments without precautions. Mobile security. Mobile threat modeling. Most people use passwords and patterns to unlock their phone. If you don't do this, you absolutely should. Confessed, I didn't do that one time, but I don't use the phone. If you get an iPhone, pretty much everything in the world of cyber security, except perhaps the engineers working on Android, believe that the iPhone are the most secure phones that you can get. There are a few reasons why. First, the main one is that the Apple iOS mobile operating system is extremely locked down, and the App Store goes through sensitive checks. Because Apple has its own little devices there, like weak batteries and other kinds of things. If you are paranoid, the iPhone is the most secure mobile phone out of the box, but unless you have a good reason for it, not jailbreaking it, while the jailbreaking movement and the hacker movement behind it has contributed to some of iPhone's more secure features. Use VPNs if you can. Do not disable. Oh, oops, I'm sorry about this. Back up your files. Don't overexpose yourself. And let me finish this up. Get an iPhone. Well, you can do it with Android also. Android has become the most popular operating system in the world. It is based on the Linux kernel. They have moved to kernel, the 4 kernel most. But the end, that is that manufacturers. In some ways, this open source nature was Android's original sin. Google traded control, thus security, for market share. This way, critical security updates depend on the carrier and device manufacturer, which is lackadaisical historically. The good news is the last 2 years, this has improved a lot. Google has been pushing partners to use monthly updates, and Google's own flagship devices have the same regular support as Apple iPhones. And this is also with Samsung. I've noticed with their products there, their best way, Pixel or Nexus phones whose security doesn't depend on everyone but Google. There are cell phones that have good track records of pushing security dates out there according to them. Moreover, the Android phone you own, be careful about what applications you install. Earlier this fall, a fake version of What Apps was installed on more than 1 million Android users. Stick to the Play Store. Avoid downloading and installing apps from third-party stores. One of the big things here, lock up your SIM card. And Fred Marling, Privacy and Surveillance Edition. Keep in mind that different tools address different types of problems. It's easy for some people to say use Signal or Tor. We advise people, and it will be, but it doesn't work for everyone. For example, a friend used to message me about her abusive ex-partner using the built-in Words with Friends messenger because she knew it that he read the text there anyway. When it comes to state actors, we recommend Tor. Signal is an encrypted messaging service for smartphones, desktop computers. For many, but not all people, it's a good option for avoiding surveillance because the government has the capability to intercept electronic messages. Using Signal is not easy. You can find it and install it from your phone app store in the iOS Apple Store and Google Store. It's called Signal Private Messenger, and it's made by Open Whisper Systems. If other people, if you have the other person's phone number there, you can encrypt it. We'll put all this on, so we'll move right on here. There's some of the things here that lock screen, put a password on, use or chatter. Oops, I'm moving a little bit fast here. The Tor browser. Its name from the acronym, the Onion Router. We've been using it, scrambles your internet traffic by routing it through several layers of computers. And if you use it, try to keep your identity hidden. There are 4 reasons why you might want to use Tor. Use it on public Wi-Fi. We use a lot of public Wi-Fi. Use en route at the university. That is about 1,600 universities. You're trying to get around a government censorship, protect yourself who use Tor. And let's see what else here. If you're an activist who's if you're connected to public Wi-Fi at Starbucks, hotels, airports, you should use Tor. It provides similar benefits as VPNs. We use VPNs too. If you're in the U.S. Part of the web, as many governments, Tor might be able to help you get around that. We don't know. Most people use it. A couple of caveats. Tor is not bulletproof. The government has been known to hack groups of users on Tor, like being known to... it has been known to hack VPN users en masse. Tor by itself doesn't make it more unlikely that you'll get hacked. Tor is for privacy, not security. Tor is designed to make it hard to log your traffic. The computer that make up the Tor network, one that your traffic bounces through, is run by volunteers. And is known, I believe Admiral, what's his name there, was talking about that. When you use Tor, you light up the screens at the NSA. It's not clear whether Tor will continue to exist in the future. Tor is run partly through grants from the government. Like many cutting technologies under DJ Trump's administration, Tor was originally developed by the U.S. military. It's possible Tor will lose most of its funding in the very near future. Consider donating, of course, to the Tor project. The virtual private networks, many VPN companies out there keep logs. We've done programs on it. Very, very important there. PGP, the only reliable way to encrypt your email, is known as pretty good privacy. That is, Mr. Phil Zimmerman has stopped using it since he can't use it on his phone. The problem isn't just that you have to figure out the PGP, everyone talks to everyone else, period. So it absolutely use encrypted email. This guide, P2P guide, might be helpful. So you can encrypt your hard drive. That is very, very important there. And anyway, we will put this up, and let's move on here. To TechCrunch. We were looking at TechCrunch earlier here. These applications will keep your New Year's resolution. Let's see if we can read a little bit more here. One, this is TechCrunch, TC. Losing weight, exercise, those are things. Anyway, these are countless fitness and diet apps out there. I'm not sure why. Regardless of what your resolutions are, this app will help you share them. Well, not sure why we got this. Anyway, let's go on. Cyber criminals steal voting database. This is something that we had here. We can sense with it. We've already talked about threat modeling and went to motherboard to do that. And in the roundup here, Alibaba is in India. That is in Mumbai. They have a data center there to serve their expanding Indian market. They are, of course, competing with Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And don't forget about some of the others out there, like our friends at IBM. Anyway, Mr. Simon Ho, the president of Alibaba Cloud, says we're excited to be officially opening our new Mumbai data center. Set to open in 2018 there. So, okay, we've moved past this. Let's move to Mr. Krebs and his operation. Well, just one thing. SC Media here. Ancestry.com, the root web had been hacked and breach of 300,000 records. That is on the 28th. It came out. Some fellow in Louisiana was busted in the notorious Nigerian prince scam. We won't need to go into that one, but it just sort of tells you. Now, this is from actually Ancestry's last Wednesday, the 20th. Ancestry's information security team received a message from security researchers indicating that he had found a file containing an email address, a user's name, password combination, as well as other users' names from what's called root web.com server. Our information security team reviewed the data from this file and confirmed that it contained information related to root web surname list information, a service that we retired earlier this year. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Root Web is a free community-driven collection of tools that can be used by some people to host and share genealogy information. Didn't know that. Ancestry has been hosting dedicated Roots web servers as a favor to the community since 2000. We reviewed the files and gotten out of business. What we have done as a result of the discovery, we have taken two immediate steps. First, approximately 55,000 customers who use the same credentials as the Roots. I was thinking of something else here. Anyway, the old Root server. This is Root's server, surname and so forth and so on. We create new passwords, and that would be prudent to do. Secondly, we've temporarily taken Root's web offline, as Roots Web is a free and open community that has largely been built by its users. We will not be able to salvage everything as we work to resolve the issues and enhance the infrastructure. They host is what they're saying, and that will do it there. So, we'll go back to Mr. Krebs here, where we started, and finish up over here. Let me just essential open source reading list. We'll just append this. Some of the books here, Professor Lawrence Lessing, Code 2.0. That was in 2005. Intellectual Property and Open Source. That's by Van Lindenberg. I'm not sure. But these are some managing third-party software licenses. That's Gills Middleton. And this was 2016. We'll append this. The New Frontiers in Open Innovation. That's by Henry William Cheeseborough. That's 2014. Open business model. I'm not sure about that one. That's a little bit dated. I won't really go into that one. Open Source 2.0, the continuing evolution. This is by O'Reilly there. And O'Reilly tends to be a solid organization. A practical guide to open source licensing here. That's Heather Mika. That's the second edition. I'm not sure when she put that out. Don't have the date sticking up here. Philosophy of the GNU project. This is by Dr. Stallman himself. Whether you agree or disagree is helpful to understand his perspective. I would recommend his book and his evolution from open source to library software, producing open source software, how to run a successful free software project. That was also by O'Reilly Carl Fogel. Had a professor named Fogel once. I think he did philosophy. Anyway, the Cathedral and the Bazaar. That's Eric Raymond. We read that book in 1999. In fact, we use it at a software conference on open source and the socialist approach that was at Use the Blue conference out in San Francisco. The International Free and Open Software Book. Yeah, who's that by? 2014. Several of them. Shane Copeland, Till Jagged. Anyway. And the Conundrum, that is again an Eric Raymond. I don't know what happened to Eric Raymond. He's sort of disappeared. He's a libertarian, and they have been destructive to the open source movement. The New Kingmakers, How Developers Conquered the World. That is an O'Reilly book there, also by Stephen O'Grady. The Open Source Alternative, that's Heather Mika, 2008. I think she updated. The Open Source Organization, Igniting Passion and Performance. The Harvard Business Review. We always encourage people to look for something a little more up to date. The Success of Open Source, that's by Steve Weber. And these are the ones recommended by the Linux Foundation. And let's see here. The open source conferences out there. We'll have more about these as we go along. And a must attend open source conference, the Linux Foundation Open Source Leadership Summit. That is in Sonoma, California, March 6th through 8th, 2018. Invitation only. We'll put it on there. Open Source Summit. That's in March the 26th through 29th in Los Angeles. That'll cost you roughly $1,400 if you get the early bird. The O'Reilly Open Source Conference, always very good, in Portland, Oregon. That's in July. The fee has not been set for that. They're returning to Portland, Oregon. I think you can watch some of these online, fortunately. The Open Source Summit, that'll be in Vancouver, British Columbia, the 29th through 30th of August. Costs you about $1,000 to get there. Worth mentioning, embedded Linux conferences and open Internet of Things, a summit that'll run in Portland also for about $900. That is in March too. It's parallel with the other conference. The Cloud Foundry Summit, that'll be in Boston on the 8th through the 20th of April. Fees, of course, have not been set on it. Some of those will also be on there. And let's see who else here. The Redhead Summit. That'll be in May at the 8th and 10th in San Francisco. That'll run you about $1,600 plus. It's the early bird situation there. OpenStack, that'll be in Vancouver, British Columbia on the 21st through there. Local initiatives anyway. Scales is a large community run open source and free software conference in North America. Has classes there. It'll be in Pasadena, California in March the 8th through 11th. The Linux Fest Northwest be out in Bellingham, Washington, by Seattle. It's run for 19 years out there. And the Southeast Linux Fest, that'll be in Charleston, North Carolina, the 8th through the 10th there. All Things Open is a more business-focused regional show. That'll be in October of next year. Honorable mention, ApacheCon. We've been with Apache since the very beginning, and these are them. And a call for proposal, that's the Linux Foundation. It's already open on the 20th of November 2017. It closes on Sunday, January 21st, 2018. They'll notify you on Friday, the 2nd of February 2018. And then the announcement there. And best present open source development. Some of the things they're pushing here. Internal versus external development adoption. Open source startup business models. Managing competing corporate interests with driving coherent communities. There's some of the things they'll be looking at there. Now to Mr. Krebs. We started out here the swatting attack out in Wichita, Kansas, that was conducted by an individual out of Los Angeles. A 28-year-old man was killed, shot and wounded by the Wichita PD. The false report was the latest in dangerous hoax known as swatting. And the mother talked about that, wherein the perpetrator falsely reports a dangerous situation and address with the goal of prompting authorities to respond to the address with deadly force. This particular swatting report originated over 100... let me just make sure that we have this right here. An online game called Call of Duty. $150 wager. Anyway, the following analysis of what we know about it. This is Mr. Krebs here. Very good person. It appears the dispute and subsequent taunting originated on Twitter. So one of the parties to this dispute, allegedly using the hashtag SWATUTIE, as SWAUTISTIE, threat to swat another user who goes by the nickname 7A Let NT. Dared the person to swat him. Then the Twitter address was not his own. Swati by false reporting to the police of domestic dispute at the address of 7A Let T. Posting the address, and we have it here. Drill or whatever it was, followers. This character, Infinity Run XBL, 90 tweets. He has 18,002 followers, and he's only following whoever it is, 66. I don't get anyone killed because I don't discharge a weapon, and being a SWAT member isn't my profession. This is Infinity Run XBL, yet wherever he is. So this is the tag here. Let me just finish on this down here. Infinity Run or whatever it is at SW off tick. I'll be waiting at 133 McCormick Street in Wichita, Kansas. Gave the zip code. I'll have you in prison for 5 years, buddy. Casey already gave me all the proof I need. Bah ha 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 ha. So the story's in the Wichita Eagle newspaper. Man came to the front door. That is described. Won't go over that one, but this is really an unfortunate situation here. After investigating the incident extensively this afternoon, Krebs Online Security was contacted by someone in control of GoTurin 36 account. The GoTurin said he had been the victim of a swatting attempt himself, and that he was, and this was the reason he decided to start swatting others. He said the thrill of it, comes from having to hide from the police via net connection. Asked how the FCC about the FCC incident, Gore Tudor 36 acknowledged it had been his bum threat. Yet, he wrote, bum threats are more fun and cooler than swats, in my opinion. I should have just stuck to that. He wrote, I've been making dollars doing some swatting requests. So in other words, this is money behind this. This is 666. Asked if he has remorse about the Kansas man death, he responded, of course I do, but evidently not enough to make him turn himself in. I won't disclose my identity. People will have evidently, most likely those who know me, tell me to turn myself in. Well, this gentleman in L.A. did. The LAPD caught up with him. A recording of the call there prompted this tragedy. Can be heard. We have it at the end here. Nonetheless, the update on the 30th, that was yesterday, the LAPD reportedly arrested Tyler Raji Barris in connection with that situation. Sad indeed. This is the 8th birthday of Krebs on Security. Last 8 years ago today, I set aside my Washington Post press badge and began as an independent here at Krebs on security.com. What a wild ride it has been. Thank you all. The past year, Krebs Online Security published nearly 160 stories. We are grateful for that, generating more than 11,000 reader comments. That's part of the publication. The pace of the publication has slowed down in 2017. But again, I have been trying to focus on quality rather than quantity, and many of these stories took weeks or months to report and write. As always, a big thank you to the readers who send in tips and personal experiences that help spark the story. For anyone who wishes to get in touch, he's always there. The site content of form, or you can email at KrebsOnSecurity@gmail.com. 4 years after Target, the little guy is targeted. Now, this is on the 18th of December. This site, breaking news, the 4th anniversary of the breach at the Target Corporation. That was 40 million customers' credit and debit cards. It had been fascinating in the year since the epic intrusion to see how organized cyber thieves have shifted from targeting big box retailers to hacking a broad swath of small to medium merchants. In many ways, not much has changed. The basic underground shops that sell stolen credit cards still index most of their cards by zip codes. The zip code corresponds not to the legitimate cardholder's billing address, but to the address of the hacker's store, which is at which the card is questioned, was physically swiped, the reason for that to the buyer, etc. Last week I was researching a story published here this week on steep increase in transaction fees associated with Bitcoin is causing many card shops to recommend alternative virtual currencies like Litecoin. I've noted that the popular carding store Joker Stash has posted a new batch of cards dubbed Dynamite, which boasts some 7 million cards, major cards issued, and probably didn't yet know which retailer or restaurant breach carried the potential breach. You can get that right in a minute here. So, Dynamite. Yeah. Anyway, Dynamite, pack of dynamite there, so you have that down here. And let me finish this story up here. On Friday the 22nd, our company was notified by the payment processor. This is from Jason's Deli. The MasterCard and security personnel informed it that a large quantity of payment card information had appeared for sale on the dark web. From Jack's Deli Management immediately activated our response plan, including engagement of a leading threat response team involving others, forensic experts, cooperation with law enforcement. Amongst the questions that investigators are working to determine is whether in fact the breach took place, and if so, to determine its scope, the method employed, etc. The investigation is in the early stages. Typically such situations, we expect it will take some time to determine exactly what happened. Jason's Deli will provide as much information as they can provide. So match complete. This is their website. Call of Duty is a PlayStation team. I had not heard of Call to Duty before. Gamers out there, match rules, round one, and so forth and so on. And some of the characters that were here, not worth talking about. But anyway, the situation in Wichita, Kansas, you'll hear about it. Online gamers have said in multiple Twitter posted that the shooting of a man Thursday night by the Wichita PD was the result of a swatting hoax involving 2 gamers. A man claimed to be the swatter in Wichita's shooting said it was not his fault anyone died. Family said the son was killed by the police. In fact, his mother said it was unnecessary. The police said normal story. He was reaching to his waistband, but there were no guns found in the house. Swatting has gained traction over the country with online gamers. Those who try to cause swatting incidents will use the caller's ID spoofing or other techniques to disguise their number as being a local. They call local non-emergency numbers instead of 911. According to 911 government. So this is one of the schemes there. The chief there in Wichita, Livingston, said that the police were looking into whether the caller that led to the shooting was a case of swatting, and it was. A little behind here. Even the mother knew about that. To the 1000 block of McCormick, preparing, and if you listen to the report there that it resulted in the murder of Mr. Andrew Finch, that the caller himself was not very impressive. The man came to the front door and one of our officers discharged his weapon. He should have not done that. First of all, these officers are usually behind their cars. When this happens, they should be behind their cars. Hostage situation there, and they have on bulletproof protection, and they could have easily shot this individual in the leg and not killed him deadly. And to begin with, he didn't have a gun. I mean, they could shine the light there. The individual just came to the door, and they shot the poor man dead. I didn't get anyone killed because I didn't discharge a weapon, and being a SWAT member isn't my profession. Well, no, but the whole point is this individual will be held responsible. He will be expedited to Kansas. The online service focuses on gaming, and the Call of Duty game reported the argument began over $1 or $2 wager over the game. Deck tour. Anyway, normally this is a prank due to a high-stress situation there. One man told the newspaper in Wichita, Kansas, the officer fired the shot, a 7-year veteran. The police sent out the information there. What is swatting? Around 400 swatting cases happen each year, and the consequences can be deadly. We'll see if we can hear this video here, what swatting is all about. Here we go. I'll put this page up, incidentally. This is swatting is when someone makes a false police report to get the police or SWAT to raid a house. Usually this is done by making a false 911 report, and 911 services are hooked to the global tracking services. The FBI says 400 of these are made each year. And SWATers can get their victims' information from social media and third-party sellers. No doubt. The FBI says SWATers can be federally prosecuted for conspiracy to obstruct justice, device fraud, etc. But in the case of this individual in the period in Kansas, murder, or at least the first degree murder. In 2016, a 21-year-old man was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Congressman Catherine Clark introduced in June a bill that would outlaw swatting. It's still in subcommittee, and this is what is important. It doesn't turn there. This was from the Wichita Eagle, part of McCashie syndicate there. This will do it for us on the 31st of December 2017. The open source report brought to you by Cranston Software, Cranston Analytics, over WBRN
I know.
in Boston.
I had seen the red and blue lights flashing in my window. I heard my son scream.
This is the mother here.
I got up, and then I heard a shot. And as I was walking by, this door was open. The police said, "Come out with your hands up." They took me, my roommate, and my granddaughter, who witnessed the shooting and had to step over her dying uncle's body, to come. They took us outside with no shoes on. They handcuffed us, you know. Why couldn't they? Yeah, they didn't call the ambulance until after he was dead. And what gives the cops the right to open fire? Why didn't they give him the same warning they gave us? I mean, that cop murdered my son over a false report in the first place. Yeah, Andy, my son was not a gamer. He was not a gamer. And they did tell me a message that had come across that said, "Come to 1033 West McCormick. I'll be there." You know, somebody was telling him. and there is they call it swatting. Are you familiar with that term? I didn't know it was a thing. You can better believe there's going to be some prank phone calls made.
Editing?
Editing, yeah. No.
So they just knocked on the door and it was...
They didn't knock on the door. My son opened it because he heard something. He screamed and then they shot him. He was unarmed. There were no guns found in this house.
A very sad information on New Year's Eve 2017. We'll have special programming later today for New Year's Eve 2017, leading to 2018 on many of these stations, on iHeart, on Stitcher, etc.
Hello?
Yeah.
This is 911. What's going on?
I recently got disconnected. I had told you guys everything that happened about the argument with my mom and dad.
Okay. What's your address? Hello?
Yeah, it's 1033 West McCormick Street.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
They were arguing and I shot him in the head and he's not breathing anymore.
Okay, so what's going on right now? Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any weapons on you?
Yeah, I do.
What kind of weapons do you have?
A handgun.
What kind of handgun is it?
I don't know, it's my dad's.
What color is it?
It's black.
Where exactly are you at in the house?
By the closet.
Okay, what closet?
My mom's.
Where's that at in the house?
In her room, which is where she's at, and my little brother.
You have a little brother?
Yeah. I was on the phone with you guys earlier, telling you guys about it. I just got disconnected.
Okay. Well, we're going to try to get you some help. Where exactly in the house, like, is this a one-story or two-story house?
It's one story.
Is it towards the front of the house, the back of the house?
Well, like, it's like towards the back, I guess. I'm just pointing the gun at them, making sure they stay in the closet, my mom and my little brother.
Okay, is there any way you can put the gun up?
No. Are you guys sending someone over here? Because then I'm definitely not going to put it away.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and stay on the phone with you, okay?
That's fine. Until they get here, or?
As long as you need me to, okay?
Yeah, I'm thinking about, because I already poured gasoline all over the house. I might just set it on fire.
Okay, well, we don't need to do that, okay?
In a little bit, I might.
Why would you do that?
Do you have my address correct?
Can you verify it for me again?
It's 1033 West McCormick Street. My zip code is 67213.
Okay. So which way does your house face? Like, does your front door face north, south, east, west?
I don't know. It's just facing the street. My dad isn't breathing. It's kind of giving me anxiety, making me, like, paranoid. Hello?
I'm still here. I'm still here, okay?
Yeah, me too.
Okay, are you white, black, Asian, Hispanic? Are you there?
Yeah.
Are you white, black, Asian, Hispanic?
It was an accident, so.
Okay, that's fine. Are you there? Talk to me. Hello? Are you there? Hello?
I know I had seen the red and blue lights flashing in my window. I heard my son scream. I got up, and then I heard a shot. And as I was walking by, this door was open. The police said, "Come out with your hands up." They took me, my roommate, and my granddaughter, who witnessed the shooting and had to step over her dying uncle's body, to come. They took us outside with no shoes on. They handcuffed us. You know, why couldn't they? Yeah, they didn't call the ambulance until after he was dead. And what gives the cops the right to open fire? Why didn't they give him the same warning they gave us? I mean, that cop murdered my son over a false report in the first place. Yeah, Andy, my son was not a gamer. He was not a gamer. And they did tell me a message that had come across that said, "Come to 1033 West McCormick. I'll be there." You know, somebody was telling him. And there is, they call it swatting. Are you familiar with that term? I didn't know it was a thing. You can better believe there's going to be some prank phone calls made.
Editing?
No, editing, yeah. No.
So they just knocked on the door and it was.
They
that
didn't
quick.
knock on the door. My son opened it because he heard something. He screamed and then they shot him. He was unarmed. There were no guns found in this house.